Awesome. You guys are great at answering questions and answers, right? All right. I appreciate you guys all sitting quietly on the floor. We won't be here too long, but we're going to start off with our first presentation, which is going to be about stormwater. My name is Ross, and then, hi guys. And then I'm going to introduce Jason. He's our stormwater engineer. Jason, can you come on up?
Thanks, Ross. As Ross said, I'm the stormwater engineer for the city. So with that, my group is responsible for keeping our waterways safe. So we try to protect all the waters in the city. So with that, we try to start to talk about stormwater. Does anybody know where stormwater comes from? Anybody heard the term stormwater? Yeah? That's good. So what do you think? Where do you think stormwater comes from? Rain. Exactly. Yep. Very good. So when it rains, when we get a storm, right? That's why we call it stormwater. The rain hits the ground, and then it starts to flow, right? We call it sheet flow. It starts to flow across the ground. And does anybody know where it goes after it starts to flow? How about you, right there in the green? Excuse me. The drain, very good. Yep, it goes to the drain. Those are called storm drains. So has anybody seen maybe in your backyard or in a road the metal grates? They're like brown, kind of rusty colored. Yep, those are called storm drains. So those are what collect all the rainwater, or what we call stormwater. So after it gets into the drain, does anybody know where it goes from there? How about you? A retention pond, very good, excellent. So but before it gets to the retention pond, there's something underground that takes it to the retention pond. How about you in the coat right there? A sewer, yes, a storm sewer. So it goes from the storm drain, which is kind of the collection point, and then it flows through a pipe that's called a storm sewer, and then typically it goes into a retention pond where the water is kind of stored and it hangs around for a while, and then after that, it's going to go somewhere else. Does anybody know after it leaves the retention pond where that water might go? How about you right there? Yes, very good. The ocean. That's eventually where it goes. Before that, there are some other waterways in the city where it might go first. How about you? Yeah. Yeah, it can do that too. Yep, when it gets hot, it can turn into water vapor. Very good. Yeah, so it goes into in streams, so little like creeks and streams, or lakes or reservoirs, and then eventually it's going to go to the ocean. Does anybody know what the biggest stream or river that we have in Fishers is called? How about you? The White River, excellent. Yeah, so that's on the west side of Fishers, and that runs all the way through Indianapolis. It's a really big river. How about after it? Does anybody know what the White River connects to? What other river the White River connects to? Yes. It actually connects to the Wabash River. So the Wabash is the second biggest river, and then the Wabash goes to another even larger river. It's named after a state. What do you think? The Ohio River. Very good. Yes. And then after the Ohio River, it goes to one of the biggest rivers in the United States, right down the middle of the United States. Does anybody know what that's called? How about you? Mississippi. Excellent. Very good. And then after that, it goes to the ocean, like you said earlier. So very good job. So now that we've talked about kind of stormwater, where it comes from, where it goes eventually, we're going to talk about maybe some treatment of stormwater. So does anybody think stormwater gets treated or filtered before it goes into our waterways? Yes? Well, that is correct. It does receive some type of treatment, not as much as our drinking water, but so the retention ponds that we were talking about, those actually help filter the water. So some of the the bad stuff in the water called pollution. Does anybody know what the word pollution is? Yes? So pollution gets into our waterways from various means, but the retention ponds help remove some of that. Another thing we like to do when we talk about stormwater, we like to talk about stormwater and then also sanitary sewer. Does anybody know the difference between a sanitary sewer and a storm sewer? What are you thinking in the back there? Well, how about where does sanitary sewer water come from? How about your home? So when you take a shower or you wash dishes in the kitchen sink or you go to the bathroom, all that water is called sanitary sewer. So that goes to what's called the wastewater treatment plant. That's actually where my office is. It's at the wastewater treatment plant in Fishers. So all of that water from inside your home is treated by what's called the wastewater treatment plant through a lot of different things called processes. But stormwater does not receive that same treatment. But retention ponds do some sort of treatment. So now that we've talked about pollution, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you this. This is called our stormwater enviroscape model. So this is going to teach you the different types of pollution that can get into stormwater and show you kind of what happens after that. So we like to start by describing this model here as Fishers. So we have neighborhoods in Fishers. Anybody live in a neighborhood in Fishers? Yeah, most of us, right? So this is going to be our Fishers neighborhood area, okay? We have construction sites. Has anybody seen a construction site in Fishers where we got kind of dirt everywhere and stuff's being built? So, okay, we have lots of construction sites. That's going to be this spot right here. This area is going to be kind of some hills, you know. It's supposed to be like mountains and hills. We don't have mountains in Fishers, but we do have some smaller hills, so this will be our hills. Here's going to be our parking lots and industrial areas, so like our Walmarts and our Targets, places with really big parking lots. Some of our schools have really big parking lots too. This is our going to be our farm field area. And we don't have a lot of farms in Fishers left because a lot of the farms are being converted to neighborhoods or you know, Walmarts and Targets, those kind of things, but we still have a few farms left. And then in the surrounding, in the county, you know, outside of Fishers, there are still a lot of farms. And then this waterway down the middle here, we're going to call Mud Creek. Has anybody heard of Mud Creek before? Yeah, that's one of our bigger creeks or streams that kind of goes right through the middle of Fishers. And then this creek here, we're going to call Fall Creek. That's on the east side of Fishers, and then this waterway right here, this large water body, we're gonna, can anybody guess what we might call that? It's on the east side of Fishers. What do you think? Anybody done any boating or fishing here in Fishers on a big waterway? What do you think? The pond? How about the big pond, Geist Reservoir? So we'll call that Geist Reservoir, right? So Fall Creek actually forms the Geist Reservoir, so that's why we call this Fall Creek. So now I think we have all, and then, I'm sorry, here's the wastewater treatment plant where we talked about the wastewater plant that treats the water from our home. So that's this building right here. So now that we have all the parts of Fishers shown on the model, does anybody have any guesses on what type of pollution might get into our stormwater, our rainwater? What do you think up front here? Smoke from fires and fireplaces, yeah. So that gets in the air, and then when it rains, all that rainwater and stormwater kind of can take that out of the air. So that can get. So let's put some. We'll put some smoke down on the roads and some of the grass here, because that's going to come from the rain. Okay, that's a good guess. Anybody have any other thoughts about different pollution that gets into our rain? From the road? Dust from the road? Yep. Dust and salt. How about let's do dust and salt at the same time. Well, all the salt that we put down in the wintertime to keep our roads safe, that's actually not good for stormwater, but we do have to use it so we can all stay safe. So let's put some salt and some dust down on our roads. Maybe in our driveways we use some salt too. so they don't fall down. Bridges we use lots of salt because they freeze up faster than the roads do. And then parking lots, so some of the big parking lots have lots of salt too. Okay, and dust. Any other guesses on different pollution types? How about you? Dirt. That's a very good guess. You know why that's such a good guess? Dirt is actually the #1 source of pollution in the state of Indiana and a lot of states, because a lot of construction sites, you can get dirt from there. You can get dirt from hillsides that erode. Anybody heard of erosion? So that's what's happening here. And then our banks of our creeks, we get a lot of erosion sometimes when we get lots of water flowing. We get dirt from the farm field here. That's a source of dirt. Maybe the driveway. And okay, that's most of our dirt areas. So very good guess. What else? What do we put on our lawns? Like in the summertime, that might be pollution. What do you think? Can you a little louder? How about what do we put on our lawn to make the grass grow better? What do you think? How about fertilizer? Fertilizer, yeah. So fertilizer, we use lots of fertilizer on our lawns to make them grow better. And then the farmer is going to use some fertilizer too to make the crops grow, right? Okay. And golf courses, they use fertilizer because they've got lots of grass, right? There's other types of chemicals that we put on our yards too. What other chemicals do we put on our yards? How about you? Pet waste, yeah, we'll go back to, that's a great guess. We'll go back to other lawn chemicals. We'll do some pet waste first, okay? So anybody have a dog? Show of hands. Yep. So there's lots of pet waste in the yards from dogs. Or other animals too. So on the farm might have some animal waste. You got cows and chickens and all kinds of animals on the farm. Okay, that's a great guess. Okay, let's go back to since we're still talking about lawns, what other types of chemicals do we put on lawns? How about you right there? Yeah. Water. We irrigate our lawns. So we'll show you later what water does on our lawns after we get the chemicals down, okay? What do you think? Weed killer. Perfect. Yep. We'll put some weed killer down. So you can see we're getting lots of pollution on our lawns. Farmers going to use some weed killer too, right? They got to keep the weeds out of the crops, and the farmer has a lawn too. Okay, there's one more main type of chemical that we would put on our lawns. So, what do you think? Soil is actually the dirt. We already talked about soil because that's the same as dirt, right? One more chemical for our bug killer. Yep, exactly. Very good. It's also called pesticides, right? That's the fancy term for it. And we are getting a lot of bad stuff on our lawns. The farmer's also going to use bug killer because we don't want bugs eating the crops. Okay. What else maybe do people throw out of their vehicles sometimes and it gets on our roads and gets in the water? What do you think? Oil? Well, that's a good car one. Yep. So oil Cars can leak oil. So let's put some oil here by the car in the driveway. Or they can just leak oil when they're driving around, right? So we can put some on the roads and the bridges. And then the tractor for the farmer, they might leak some oil once in a while, right? Okay. And then we got construction equipment. That can leak oil too. So let's put some there. That's a very good guess. Other pollution types, what do you think? Trash, yes, very good. That's the one I was looking for. Trash, good job. So trash or litter. Oop, that one's not open. Here we go. Trash or litter, it's all the same kind of stuff, right? Cups, paper, you know, trash can be a lot of different things. So okay, parking lots, we might have some trash too, right? Okay, let's see. Another thing that happens sometimes is, you know, the storm drains that we talked about in the roadways. Sometimes people can dump stuff in storm drains. Are you supposed to dump anything in storm drains like oil or paint? No, that's illegal, but people still do it. So let's put some oil down, or some paint maybe right here. Say there's a storm drain right there. Right there's one. Let's do one right there too. Okay. So if you guys see anybody dumping something down the storm drain, you give us a call and we'll go stop them, okay? Okay, that's pretty much most of the types of pollution, I think. Oh, one more. It comes from yards. What happens when we mow our lawns? What do you think? Yep, very good. So like, call that like yard waste. So we might get some like wood that falls from trees or grass clippings when you mow the lawn, or if you have leaves in the fall, you might rake them up. That's all called yard waste. So sometimes people will dump yard waste into rivers or ponds or whatever, and that's actually, even though it doesn't seem like it's bad, it's actually not good for stormwater because it can still kill fish. And when you get older, we'll explain maybe why that happens. But for now, yard waste is, you should compost it instead. So you shouldn't dump it into waterways. You should actually just take it to a recycling center or throw it in the trash. So let's put some yard waste down. Okay. Okay, so now that we got most of the types of pollution down, right now it's still kind of hanging out on the ground, right? So it's not really going anywhere, which that's a good thing, but it's not good for the ground. But let's see what happens when it starts raining. So now you can see all the pollution is flowing. Remember how we were talking about water flowing? So now that's what's happening here. So water's getting into storm drains and it's getting on the roads. So water flows on the roads and it flows into storm drains and then into the storm sewers, right? And then look what happens. It gets down into Geist Reservoir and it starts looking pretty murky, right? So would you guys, if this was real pollution, would you want to drink water like that? No, not at all. Nope. So one of the reasons we try to talk to you guys about this stuff is because Geist Reservoir and the White River are the main sources of drinking water for most of us in the Indianapolis and Fishers area. So if we don't take care of our stormwater, eventually, we're going to be drinking that. Now, we talked about treatment from the wastewater treatment plant. There's also treatment that occurs from the drinking water plants. So when they pull the water from the White River or Geist Reservoir, they do treat it for some chemicals. for a lot of chemicals, but they can't necessarily remove all the chemicals. So the more we can keep pollution and contamination, which is another fancy word for pollution, out of our waterways, the healthier we're going to be and the safer we're going to be. So and it also costs a lot of money to remove chemicals from water that we're going to drink. So the better job we can do, it won't cost as much for us to have clean water come into our homes. So next thing we like to do is talk about how do we stop this from happening. So at home, what are some things that we can do at home or when we're out and about or at school that can help stop this from happening? Anybody got any thoughts on that? What do you think? Yep, don't throw trash on the road. Throw it in the trash cans, right? Excellent. What do you think? What's that? Yep, clean up trash. So you can pick up trash if you see it and be a good citizen and throw it in the trash. What do you think? Oh, picking up trash from the playground. Yep, very good. What do you think? What's that? Can you say it a little louder? Plant a tree. Yep, very good. You know what trees do? That's excellent because trees soak up lots of stormwater. So what a tree does is when the rainwater comes and hits the ground, even if it picks up pollution, if it gets down into the soils and into the tree will soak all that up and it'll keep the pollution from getting into the creeks. That's a very good thought. How about on our yards? What can we do different on our yards? Oh, fix cars so they don't leak? Yep, very good. How about lawn chemicals? Picking up yard waste? Yep, very good. What do you think? Yeah. Yep, you can pick up trash from your yard. How about maybe we can go home and tell our parents, or maybe there's some parents here, to not use as many lawn chemicals. Your lawn doesn't necessarily need chemicals all the time. Sometimes it does, but you can do soil tests to see if you need fertilizer. Most times you don't need fertilizer because a lot of the soil has the nutrients you need already. If you're going to use bug killer or weed killer, you can just do spot spraying. So instead of putting chemicals over your whole yard, you just get a sprayer and you just go after weeds, one weed at a time, or bugs. That's a little different story, but you don't have to use bug killer all the time. You can maybe just do it once a year. And there are some type of lawn chemicals that are more environmentally friendly. So that means they're not as bad for the stormwater, not as bad for the environment. So you can use better stuff. Let's see, what else? Maybe we talked about if you see somebody dumping pollution down a storm drain, you can call the city. We also mark storm drains with these. They're called storm drain markers. So they're little messages that say, hey, this storm drain goes to a waterway, so don't dump anything bad down it. The only thing that should go into the storm drain really is rainwater. So another thing we hand out is pet waste bags. So if you take your dog for a walk, take a pet waste bag with you or a couple so you can pick up the waste when you're out for a walk or when you're at home. And we can use less salt on roads or less salt on our home driveways. There are other options too that are more environmentally friendly as well. Another thing we do on construction sites, so I have there's a team of people that work with me, and one of the people that we have, he does construction plan review to make sure construction sites have the proper things in place to keep the dirt from getting off the site and into our waterways. And then we have inspectors that go out and keep an eye on those sites to make sure that dirt is not getting off the land. And then we also have another inspector who We talked about retention ponds and how they filter stormwater. So she goes out and she inspects those ponds to make sure that they're not eroding and that they're doing the best job they can to treat our stormwater before it gets to a waterway. So with that, I'd like to give you guys a couple other things that some of our city people do. We have maintenance people that fix our storm sewers. So sometimes the storm drains will break, or the pipes, the storm sewer pipes underneath the ground, they will break, and then the soil from the ground will get in those pipes. So our guys go out and fix those pipes and drains so that they work well. And if there is dirt in them, then they can vacuum that dirt out, and that keeps it out of our waterways. Another thing we do is we have recycling days, so where you can take things like oil and paint, and you can take them to the recycling center, so that way you're not dumping them into our waterways. And there is a recycling center in Hamilton County that's available all the time for that if you have any need there. Another thing we do is we sweep the streets. So we have two street sweepers that try to sweep every street in the city as much as they can. And what that does is it gets all the dirt and the salt and everything off the streets, and then it keeps that from getting into the storm drain. So that's a really good thing that can help with that. And then we do education programs like this, just so hopefully you guys learn something, and you can take that home and try to help our environment. So I think with that, that's about all I had, and I think the planning department has an excellent thing called Box City that they're going to run with you next. So I guess I'll turn it back over to Ross, and thank you.
Give it up
guys.
for Jason.